Welcome, everyone. So glad you could be here today. Looking forward to today because this is an area where I feel especially attached, um, both because of trauma events that I've had in my own life, but also helping those that have had trauma in theirs. And so I'm really looking forward to covering some of the tools and things that we have for today. So we're going to take a few moments to just breathe. And if you will, just close your eyes, get comfortable, wiggle a little bit, and just take some breaths and focus on your breath a little bit, just normal breathing. And now feel in your body, just do a quick body scan. Feel anywhere in your body where you're holding tension. Might be in your shoulders. If it is, just wiggle them out. If it's in your legs or in your abdomen, just breathe that out to relax those areas. Most of us carry the world on our shoulders, and so our shoulders are tight, and maybe we need to wiggle a little more. And now let's just do some focusing, continue to focus on our breathing. Let's do some inhales and hold and exhales, releasing the tension as we exhale. Feel those shoulders coming down. We'll do another deep inhale. Hold and blow slowly through the mouth, releasing whatever tension you're feeling. If you have shoes on, you may want to take your shoes off and just kind of hug the floor with your feet. I have a little fuzzy foot massager under my desk, so my feet tend to go there in that comfortable zone for me. Okay, and we're going to do something a little bit different today. We're going to take a deep breath in, and we're going to take a little extra breath. We're going to hold it to the count of 4 like we usually do. And when we blow out, we're going to say or whatever's most comfortable for you. Some people like to hum, some people like to make a sound. Ready? Okay, let's take a deep breath in and a little bit more and hold and blow with a noise. Okay, this is a little technique that we will talk about a little bit later in today's class. Let's do that one more time and try to extend that blowing out, that exhale, as long as you can. Ready? Deep breath in and a little more and hold and blow slowly out, making your voo or noise. Voo. All the way till there's no air left. Now, just breathe normal and focus on that breath. If you did that exercise and you're not used to breathing deeply, you might feel lightheaded or a little tingly. This is normal if you don't have enough oxygen in your body. Practicing this every day will relax and calm the central nervous system, as well as relaxing the tension in our body and balancing the vagus nerve, and get extra oxygen to our brain so that we can think better throughout the day. And the more you practice, the less you will have the lightheadedness and tingly feeling. When you're ready, you can open your eyes. Welcome to Module 5. In this session, we'll explore how trauma impacts the nervous system and how that ties directly into the HPA axis dysfunction. Trauma isn't what's wrong with you. It's what happened inside of you when life became too much. We will explore how trauma shapes the nervous system and the stress response. You'll also learn how to recognize survival states and begin rewiring safety through daily body-based practices to support healing, similar to what we just did this morning in our preparation. All right, so here we go. The nervous system healing and trauma awareness today is what we're covering. So first, we kind of need to understand trauma. Trauma is not only about big events. It includes subtle or chronic long-term stress that exceeds what your nervous system's ability is to process. And this creates the person ends up being in a kind of a stuck survival pattern, and this over time taxes the HPA axis. So trauma is not necessarily just a mental health issue. It can also become a physical issue. It causes tension in our shoulders. It causes digestive issues. It causes heart problems. It can cause stomach issue, nausea and pain. It can actually create an inflammation that's going on in our joints and all over our body. So there's a whole lot going on when we have trauma that is embedded. Now, some people have told me, well, I'm not in that stress situation anymore. Or, that happened a long time ago. I already worked on that. But the reality is that it stays stuck in our body because our body is responding, and especially if it's long term. Like I talked with somebody recently who'd had a long-term event of about 6 months of being abused. Now, it doesn't sound like a long time, and maybe it was 40 years ago, but that's still stuck in his cells and his body. There's a book that I've mentioned umpteen times before called The Body Keeps the Score. And in that, the author talks about how your body's going to hang on to that trauma. There is something called cell memory, and every cell that is reproduced remembers the information that the previous cells or the other cells around it are holding. So all of that keeps that trauma stuck in our body. So really, it's about how your body responded. And really, it's stored, and it just keeps recreating. The cell memory keeps recreating. And so it's not just in our mind, and it's not just something, oh, well, I can talk about it, so it's fine. It's stored in our body, and we have to figure out the ways to unlock it and let it go, because the body couldn't process it properly, not because you mentally couldn't process it. And so it creates this really difficult time on the HPA axis. And then the body goes into what we've talked about before in adrenals, where it goes into this higher level where instead of down here where it goes up and then back down and stays level, our body goes up and it stays up. And so it's adjusted. It says in order to keep you on your feet, body's so dynamic and so wonderfully made, in order to keep you on your feet, we're going to have to keep the chemicals going at this level up here to keep you moving. So sometimes when those chemicals come down, you feel exhaustion. Sometimes when those chemicals change, you feel like all your energy is removed. That's all because the body has learned to travel up here at this level of chemicals, and it's not healthy. Long term, it's not normal and it's not healthy. So that it's pretty difficult to really understand it if you don't know that this chemical stuff is happening in your body. And so understanding how the chemicals change and all of that really does affect our body and it affects our health. People with trauma, early trauma, tend to be re-traumatized easier throughout their lifetime. Little things will traumatize them. They will have trigger words or trigger situations that will make them feel stressed. For example, I struggle if I'm in survival mode, watching movies or watching stressful things on television. Even the news sometimes would stress me out. And so those kinds of things, if those things bother you, if you find this is happening, no matter what it is, doesn't have to be the news, then you probably have some trauma going on. So things to be aware of. All right, so there are nervous system survival modes. There are different modes. They are basically adaptive. It's not a bad thing, but staying stuck in them drains your energy and can prevent healing. So really important to understand. And there are actually more states, but these are the most common states. Fight, flight, or freeze. So if you're feeling tense, angry, defensive, you're probably noticing cortisol is high and you're in a hyperarousal state. If you are in the flight state, you might feel anxious or restless. You might be over functioning, like I got to be moving all the time, I got to be going, kind of wired feeling. That again is high cortisol, and you feel more wired and exhausted. Okay, but not exhausted constantly. You're wired but you're tired at the same time. And then finally, there's the freeze state in our chart, which makes you feel disconnected or numb or shut down, and it's like you can't function within that. And that's typically when we're in the burnout phase of our HPA. Our cortisol is low all the time, and we just cannot function. So when these things are happening, you're not broken, okay? Your nervous system isn't broken. It's really doing its job. In polyvagal theory, which means multiple vagal nerves or the multiple vagal system, helps us understand how to move from survival into safety through some gentle practices and connection. In fact, Dr. Stephen Porges, I was supposed to meet him a couple of years ago when I went to a conference in Copenhagen on auricular medicine. He was presenting. He ended up not being able to get there in person, so we saw him online. But he did some presentations, and he and his wife did presentations on how polyvagal theory works and about different chemicals and things, so more medical, but how different chemicals respond in our body. But he talks about these three stages: safety, or the ventral; danger, the sympathetic or the emergency response; and collapse, which is a dorsal response. Ventral is I feel comfortable, I feel safe, I'm in a good space. Danger, of course, is the okay, fight, flight, or freeze. And then there's the collapse, which is exhaustion. the dorsal phase. And we can in fluidity fluctuate between these different states. Well, healing involves moving between these states with flexibility. And when we can't move between those states in fluidity and flexibility, we get stuck. Most of the time, we get stuck in the danger or the collapse states. That's typically where we get stuck. So there are some tools for regulation, and we're going to talk about a few of those. Some of them we won't be doing. I won't be talking about EFT, but we'll talk about EMD or another type of tapping. There's tension trauma release exercises. So like we did a little shaking. Sometimes we'll like tighten up and then release, that type of thing. Let's talk about EMD real quick. Emotional freedom technique, which is EFT, is one. I don't do that or teach that. I'm not trained, but that is one. If you know someone who does that, or if you know it, or if you want to research it more, it is something that you can do. A little bit that I know of is like tapping in the eyes, on the cheekbones, in different parts of the face, as well as the hands. So I do know a little bit, but I've not really been trained in it. But EMD, I have been trained in. It's the sub work of EMDR. And I usually recommend for people to make a butterfly and tap on their shoulder blades. And this actually helps to calm the vagal nerve or the vagus nerve, because the vagus nerve comes through your shoulders like this around your neck. And so when you do this alternate tapping, it helps to relax, especially if you do this while you're repeating something positive or the opposite of what you're feeling. And this actually creates new neural dendrites or neural pathways in your brain, so your cells are reaching out and touching each other better and creating new neural pathways. So it has a couple of different uses. We also do auricular medicine, which is doing some acupressure on different parts of your ear, which can also be helpful. And I will put, I don't have this up there right now, but I'll put a chart so you can find those points on your ear so that you can use them to treat different issues. And finally, some grounding, which we do every time we come and meet here. We do the grounding. We sit down together. We take some breaths. We focus on our breathing. We do some grounding techniques or just some body awareness or presence. And so we do that, those things all the time. And these somatic tools help the body release trauma and restore balance without needing to talk through it. Sometimes talking about a trauma is only re-traumatizing, and it's not something that we need to do. In many cases, that re-traumatization is actually more dangerous than the original trauma itself. And so the practices gently rewire your body back into safety, and it rewires safety into our nervous system. So you don't have to heal alone. And this is important. I use connection and co-regulation in my office when I'm working with children. If you are stressing or if a child is stressing, I calm myself down and I just maybe a gentle touch on the shoulder, or I sit next to them, because the body will actually, the other person will actually co-regulate with your energy. Everything, of course, is energy. And so you want to have connection, so you're not doing this by yourself. Your nervous system is wired for connection. Being seen and heard or held in a safe way helps shift the body out of survival mode. So you might have a touch or eye contact or a tone of voice or being present with someone else in someone else's presence. And these are all cues of safety. Because healing really doesn't happen in isolation. It happens in relationship. Our whole world right now is broken because we have separated ourselves from relationship. We're trying to get relationship online, and while that's helpful, it's not 100%. And so trying to find opportunities for co-regulation and connection is really hard when everything is online. But we can also find that connection and co-regulation with pets, in nature, and in, as I mentioned, community. And we can do that here in community online, which is a little harder, or in live groups online, which we try to do every Wednesday, try to do our live groups so people come in and we connect. That's how healing can happen much faster, and we feel we can bring ourselves to a place of safety. So again, we're going to use some tools when we feel triggered, overwhelmed, or ungrounded, unsettled. They're also great for daily maintenance, in order to keep your nervous system flexible, which we talked about earlier. We need that fluidity, right? So daily practice is really important. There is a daily practice guide or daily somatic practice guide. It has some simple daily grounding and regulation routines on it. You can find that in the downloads. Also, there's a grounding checklist for practical tools in order to get the body back into a calmer state, or to bring ourselves back into presence. And we've been practicing them again all through our series before our meetings. So, utilize what we've practiced, and learn some new ones. You don't have to do them all. Do one or two, pick one or two that you feel comfortable doing, and just practice them every day. Again, and I mentioned this last week, the more you do these daily, the faster they will help. Okay? You're going to train the body to respond to the behavior. And it takes a couple weeks of consistency, but once you're consistent, your body will be trained to respond to the behavior. So if you do the behavior, focusing on your breathing, okay, and you do it daily to help calm you down, you will find yourself calming and no longer feeling as overwhelmed. Or when you are triggered, you can do that in only a few minutes and you'll be calm, and it won't take as long. So it's important to journal what we've been going through. And, we talk about a journal prompt or reflection prompt every week. So I'm going to go ahead and do it again this week. So think about people, places, practices, or sensations that help you soften or come back to the present moment, or calm, or relax your shoulders. What is one small thing you can do today to feel safer? Remember, your body isn't broken. It's brilliant. Let's learn how to listen to it. Let's learn how to soothe it and support its return to balance. What helps me feel safe in my body? Very important to recognize and listen so that you can learn what will make you feel safe. So what's next? Next week, Module 6, we are going to look at gut health and its direct link to the nervous system and adrenal function. Now that we've begun the journey of reconnecting with our body wisdom, we're going to explore how our gut health ties to our entire stress system. We'll also talk about how to restore it. All right. And so in the classroom, you have a downloadable somatic practice guide. You have a grounding checklist, and you have a nervous system states chart that you can download and put in your notebook or use it to look at. And please remember to continue your journal, because paying attention to those safety cues that your body is telling you, and paying attention to when you're feeling unsafe and what you've done that works is going to be really important for you. All right. Thank you so much. Until next time. Bye-bye.